Okay, it's 6 o'clock and the recording's live, so I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. We have full attendance except for Councillor Mancini, so we definitely have quorum. So I'll move to the land acknowledgement. The Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. Okay, next up, 1.1, tabling of the annual report. So I guess we get some public participation there for any members of the public in attendance who would like to speak to this. I think I'll dispense with the whole preamble and just ask if there's anyone who wants to address us on our annual report. It's all good. Our one member of the public here is indicating she's good. I do have to formally call, the lawyer's reminding me, for 3 times. So would anyone like to speak to us tonight on the annual report? Third and final call. Would anyone like to speak to us tonight on the annual report? Okay. We could go ahead to a motion then if Councillor Cleary.
I'll move that Regional Center Community Council table the 2024 Regional Center Community Council annual report as presented.
Second by Councillor Kent. Anything on that, Councillor?
Just, looking at the number of meetings that we could have had, the number that we did, the small number of public hearings and variance hearings in my district. I think we did some modest but good work.
Modest but good. Thank you, Councillor Cleary. Anyone else? I would take the question.
Oh, you know what? I will just add one
Councillor
thing.
Cleary.
Given for the regional center, how often our staff are engaged in those periodic reviews and housekeeping stuff and bringing cool stuff forward compared to where we were with the 1978 bylaws. I think a hand is appropriate for our staff, just keeping it evergreen. So thank you very much for that.
Hear to that. Okay, seeing no one, question? Question has been called. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? That carries. Thank you everyone for your work on that. So next up, approval of the minutes from November 18th.
No minutes.
That's 3. So Councillor Cleary's moved the minutes. Someone second by Councillor White. Any discussion on the minutes? None? Okay, question on the minutes. All those in favor? All those opposed? Minutes are done. Thank you all. Next, we'll go to the order of business. Ms. Clerk.
Chair Austin, there are no additions or deletions from the clerk's office this evening.
Okay. Would someone like to move the order of business? Councillor Cleary, second by Councillor Hinch. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Business is approved. So business arising out of the minutes, none. Any conflicts of interest to declare tonight? None. No motions of reconsideration. We have no motions of rescission. There's no deferred business. We have no tabled matters, which brings us to pretty much the entire point we're here tonight. Our public hearing, 10.1.1, updates to cultural use requirements in the regional center, the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center. So thank you for joining us for a public hearing. The process will start with a staff presentation and questions of clarification from staff. And then the applicant will have an opportunity to present. After that, we'll go to the public hearing. Speakers will have a maximum of up to 5 minutes. And you'll, of course, have to keep your comments respectful, on topic, and directed to me, the chair. The clerk will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining. And then when your time is complete, that kind of just trails off on the speech.
No.
After everyone on the list has been given an opportunity to speak, we'll go on to any additional speakers. So I think we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
All right, so let's lead off with the staff presentation. And just before we begin, I skipped over a step here. Ms. Clerk, do we have any correspondence on this?
No, we haven't received correspondence for this item.
Thank you. All right, the floor is yours.
Okay, good evening. I know. Let's try that. I'll just shift my chair and see if it gets worse. I can hear it, can you? That one's better. I think we're good. Okay, good evening. My name is Brandon Umperville. I'm a Planner 3 with the Community Planning Team in Planning and Development. I'm here to present case 2024-02794, updates to the Regional Center Land Use Bylaw for cultural uses. So in terms of background for this project, it is staff initiated and began on September 5th with the application for a development permit by Fathom Studios on behalf of the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center. The proposed design was developed through extensive engagement and includes important Indigenous design elements. During staff review, we identified two outstanding conflicts between the land use bylaw and the proposed design. The project is located at 1940 Gottingen Street, which is between Rainy Drive, Cogswell, and Gottingen Street. It's the former location of the Canadian Blood Services building. And the neighbors include the Centennial Pool, the Citadel, the Emergency Modular Housing, as well as HRP headquarters across the street. And the site is located in the downtown Halifax zone of the Regional Center Land Use Bylaw. Our colleagues in Development Services worked with Fathom and the Friendship Center to review the proposal. And the first outstanding conflict that was identified is related to the open space requirements. So Section 140 of the bylaw requires that any building in the downtown Halifax zone must include a street wall that extends across the full width of any street that runs along any lot. We do allow some flexibility for this requirement with an exemption to 20 to 30% if the lot is located outside of the downtown Halifax Central Block special area, or if it includes an at-grade open space. You'll see in this diagram that there is open space provided, but it equals approximately 67% of the street width along Rainy Drive, so it wouldn't meet our 20 to 30% exemption. The open space is key to the programming of the Friendship Center, and like I mentioned earlier, is designed based on extensive engagement. I'll go into detail in a few slides about how we propose to address this conflict while meeting the intent of policy for this site. The second conflict relates to street wall articulation. So a reminder, the street wall is the wall of the building that faces the street and is located between the ground and the top of the step back, which is typically at least 8 meters high in this zone. Sections 359 and 362 of the bylaw require articulation for street walls, which means you have to include distinct vertical sections to differentiate your street wall. And these must extend from the ground to the top of the street wall. The proposed design incorporates some horizontal elements which are not currently allowed by the bylaw. And this design was inspired by Indigenous elements such as ash peeling, the Bay of Fundy rock formations, and quill basket making. You'll see them in the diagram, the rendering here. You can also see that the ground floor includes those horizontal elements that are in conflict with the current requirements of the bylaw. One potential solution that was explored and is included in center plan is a site plan approval for variation, which allows you to vary some of your design requirements. However, this process cannot fully accommodate the issues we've identified. Specifically, the open space requirement is not allowed to be varied by site plan approval. I've got the slides flipped here, so I'm going to go to this one first. So our solution that we've identified is to bring forward these land use bylaw amendments that are in your package today. And they'll apply to all cultural uses in the downtown Halifax zone outside of the downtown Halifax central blocks. So you'll see the impacted blocks are highlighted in pink on the map on the slide, and the ones that this won't apply to are in purple. So that's the downtown Halifax central block special area. The rationale, the site plan approval process, though potentially possible to accommodate one of the design elements, would impose additional requirements on the property owner, where as staff, we see them more as LUB issues that should be adjusted to better accommodate the Indigenous design principles. The proposed amendments offer a more comprehensive solution, and they reflect HRM's commitment to reconciliation and inclusivity by addressing the current regulations. These changes aim to better support cultural uses while preserving the broader objectives of the land use bylaw. So our first proposed amendment is to section 140, the street wall width exemption section, which will allow an exemption to the street wall requirement of up to 80% for cultural uses in the downtown Halifax zone outside of those central block special area. And the second amendment is to sections 359 and 362. This provides an exemption to the street wall articulation requirement for cultural uses in the downtown Halifax zone and outside the central block special area. This exemption is similar to one that we already have in place in the bylaw for buildings in the institutional or university and college zone that are set at least 40 meters back from the street line. The amendments align with the enabling policies that guide development in the area, which is the North End Gateway Precinct and the Regional Center Municipal Planning Strategy. The policies in this area promote a signature architecture on this site, as well as open spaces and enhancing north-south view corridors from the North End to downtown. Additionally, culture and heritage policies prioritize broadening the inventory of cultural resources to better reflect the Mi'kmaq and urban Indigenous community members. Staff believe that the proposed amendments align with these policies. And I'll also note that staff have committed to doing a more fulsome review in the report of land use bylaw regulations that pose barriers to Indigenous and cultural designs through future housekeeping processes as well as the suburban planning process. I've also included a couple maps here to show the site's location in relation to on the left, the North End Gateway Precinct in the MPS, and on the right, the downtown Halifax Central Block Special Area in the land use bylaw. A quick note on the process for the project. We've completed staff initiation as well as the notice posted to the website. First reading, and we're here at public hearing today. If approved today, the amendments would be appealable for 14 days. With that, I'd like to conclude by thanking the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center for their collaboration with our team, as well as other internal colleagues for helping to prioritize these amendments. The recommendation is up on the screen, and we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation. So next up would be questions of clarification, if there are any from members of council. Councilor Kent. Mhm.
Thank you. Can you go to slide 7?
Is that
No.
the right slide?
7. That's
Sorry.
6.
Yep.
Nope. Next one then. It's the one with all the pink. There. So the downtown Halifax special area is purple. Correct?
So the downtown Halifax Central Blocks special
Central
area,
Block special
is
areas.
in purple. Yeah,
And there's a pink one right in the middle of it.
that's the convention center. Through the chair to the member of the Regional Center Community Council, that's the convention center, which has its own special area within the land
Okay.
use bylaw.
All right, because I was just, and the impact of that is not going to, well, yeah, because there's no great rush to replace the convention center right now, is there? Okay, I'm just going to call it quits.
No, thanks for the question.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Kent. Any further questions? Councilor White.
My question was just about the articulation and why do we have it written the way it is if this building is so lovely and we would like to go ahead with it? Why keep these rules?
So through the chair to the councilor, thank you for the question. I think that's a question that would be open to council's decision when center plan was approved. But some of the things that I think about when we think about articulation is the walkability of neighborhoods, the feeling of buildings at street level, and ensuring that you have a good walkable street front. And what we've discovered, and we have a variation in the bylaw that allows for some of these horizontal gestures. So like I said in the presentation, this one could potentially be accommodated through site plan approval, where we do allow a variation for some horizontal gestures in certain circumstances. So we do allow it in some cases. So I think that's what I would say. Yeah, so I guess through the chair of the council, they just don't go far enough quite for this project. So we wanted to make sure that we could accommodate it.
Councillor Cleary.
So as I feel old now, as a councillor who's been here since before we started the regional center land use bylaw, at the Community Design Advisory Committee and all the consultations that we had leading up to it, especially in the downtown area, and whenever you look at especially like pedestrian-oriented main streets, changes in articulation are really important, because as you're walking down a street, and we did some work with, is it Jan Gale? Remember when he came to town? Anyway, there's really great research around as you walk down a street and you think about a building, especially a commercial retail kind of establishment, like 30, 40, 50 feet, and you walk down and then you pass another one and you pass another one, and you get that feeling of you're walking down a really vibrant, active street front. And so I knew this would be an issue along Gottingen and Rainy, because it's a really big site. And in order to make this fit that, it would almost have to be like one big building, but then you'd have to like set something in, change the material, do something different. And be walking down, and one building would end up looking like 10 buildings. And it just wouldn't fit the concept of having one Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center that was representative of that culture, of that purpose, of what the center is supposed to do. So anyway, that was just my comment on the articulation, and why, if you were walking down Barrington Street or Quinpool Road or Gottingen, these rules are really important for those kind of streets. But on a site like this with the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center, it's a very different context. So I think that was the sort of idea behind the articulation, why we have to adapt it here.
Through the chair to the council, I'll just add that thanks for that. I would, and just a reminder that this applies to cultural uses where we think that flexibility is important and could be useful. So.
Okay, so next, don't know that there's a question there, but there was probably clarification. Councillor Hinch.
So I walk along that route quite often, and I find it quite difficult at times, the way that it goes up the hill and goes over that type of way or whatever. So I don't think it's nearly accessible as it is right now. I think it's very difficult and challenging for a few people that may have, mobility issues and that type of thing. So anything to make it better or anything of that nature, I would definitely consider that for sure.
Thank you, Councillor. So we'll move on now, since we're out of questions to clarification, to this would normally be the applicant, but we are the applicant, so I don't know that we need to go back to ourselves. So we'll move ahead to the public portion. Did we have anyone signed up?
No.
Okay, so with no one on the speakers list, I will call 3 times to see if there's anyone in attendance tonight who wants to speak to this application. Would anyone like to speak tonight on this? I thought you might. Just come forward, say your name and community for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Sure. Pam Glow DeRoche. I'm the Executive Director for the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Society. And I'm here tonight to support this, obviously. And I'm hoping that not only does it support the work that the Friendship Center is doing, but I'm hoping that it actually supports future work for other organizations. This has been a real learning curve for us. This will be the second purpose-designed Indigenous building. The first one was the Diamond Bailey Healing Center, but this one here is certainly public-facing, and hoping that we can really establish the opportunity for us to relearn some of our traditional knowledge ways of us being caretakers, and that's why some of that green space is so important as well. There's going to be a sweat lodge on there, and there's real cultural activities. There's tourism opportunities that we will be using there as well. But it really is about us really re-examining who we are as Indigenous people, and hopefully as a broader community. I said we're all community members. I live, work, and play in HRM. While my home is originally in Millbrook, this is now home for me. And I want to see my own community in the space where I'm working, living, and playing. But it's even more important that we get to share some of this with the broader community as well. So I'm really hoping that not only does this benefit the Friendship Center, but it benefits all communities that may be looking to design something that really showcases who they are and where they come from. We do have a beautiful city. We're well mixed. And I think that's what makes us very unique. But one thing that I do find is missing in our city is us actually being able to showcase who we really are. And I think this opportunity will actually benefit not just ourselves, but many other organizations for the future. And I got to say, counselors, like the staff have been amazing to work with, and as frustrated I have been in some of these meetings, and trust me, I have been, they've stood there with us and said, let's do this together. So I just want to acknowledge that as well, because I do think, that's important. This has been a real act of reconciliation, this whole process. It was a leap of faith to begin with. We continue to take leaps of faith, but I do believe in the future, once that Friendship Center is completely built, we're going to have a very unique and beautiful building that not only that we're going to be proud of, but I think HRM is going to be very proud of. And I think that is the real key for me, is this is why this is important for us to address, because it does open the door for others to actually examine who they are and actually explore who they are and work with the city to showcase the many different peoples that are in this space. I'm fortunate and blessed to do the work that I do. I get to work for my community every day. Question my sanity some days, but that's a whole different conversation. But at the end of this, we continue to build relationships with all the counselors as well. And I think that is what makes us really unique in this opportunity to actually showcase how we are doing reconciliation and how we're doing it together. So I just wanted to acknowledge that as well. So that's what I came to say. Thank you all so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this evening. So I do have to continue to call 3 times. So would anyone else want to speak to this tonight? Would anybody else want to speak to this tonight? Third and final call. Would anyone else want to speak to this tonight? Seeing none, the next, I think before we close the public hearing, there's an opportunity for staff to respond if they wish, but there weren't any questions raised, so I'm getting head shakes there. So next it would be moved to public hearing closed. We'll go Councillor Kent moved. All those in second, Councillor Cleary. All those in favor? Aye. All right, so the public hearing is closed. So council, what is your wish? Councillor White, did you want to do the motion?
I would love to do the motion.
It is your district.
Yeah, although the wording is less exciting. The wording is not very exciting, but I motion that the Regional Center Community Council adopt the amendments to the Regional Center Land Use Bylaw as set out in Attachment 1 of the staff report dated October 22nd, 2024.
Seconded by Councillor Hinch. Go ahead, Councillor White.
I have not much to say other than I just love this building. I can't wait for it to be built. It's really exciting. It's going to add to the community in so many ways. I love it.
Okay. Councillor Cleary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also love the building. And, as a counselor who has supported this all the way through from, and I don't know how many learning curves you have, Pam. It's more than one. But it's been a long journey. And I just want to, again, thank our staff, because obviously once it was raised that this wasn't going to fit the current regulations, to have staff be so supportive of making our regulations fit the Native Friendship Center rather than try to make the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center fit our regulations is, as Ms. Glow DeRoche mentioned, a real act of reconciliation. And I'm just proud to be part of that process. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't feel like I can take a whole lot of credit on this one, so I'm going to offer thanks to Sam and, sorry, Mr. Chair and Councillor Cleary for the heavy lifting that you did on this in the earlier stages. Of course, staff as well, but I just want to acknowledge that how important this is. You know, I know Pam, you mentioned about the impact on the community. And I think really this type of signature building initiative, the whole project is healing to the entire municipality. There are so many people that I know take very seriously the reconciliation, the land acknowledgements that we do every time we get together and we talk about we're all treaty people. I think this type of initiative can bring that to a reality. And that feels really, really good. That I'm proud to be able to support it tonight, and that our council has the opportunity now to bring it to conclusion. I just want to know when it's groundbreaking. I want to make sure I'm part of that. But really, just thanks to everyone, Tassia, and everyone who's participated in this. This is really, really historic and really, really just impactful. It's so impactful to our city. And I look forward to it, and I know many others will as well. And yeah, let's just celebrate that today. And I wish you well in the next journey, because it's going to be some heavy lifting next. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. If there's no one else, I'll just say briefly.
Can I?
Councillor Hinch.
So I would just like to say as well, I am excited to be on this council at this time, in this period, to be able to see this to fruition and see what becomes of it and how this building is going to be so beautiful in our community, even though you're on the opposite side of my district, but you used to be in my district at one point in time. But you always will be a part of the full community, irregardless of that. But you know what, Pam, I love you and thank you so much. And yeah, I can't wait to see. When are you breaking ground? Do you know?
They're moving trailers in this week or next.
Oh, great.
So,
Great. Awesome.
fencing is supposed to be going up within the next few weeks.
Okay.
So we're getting it.
Wow. Can't wait.
Thank you, Councillor. So just from the chair, I'll just echo that this is a fantastic project. I think it's really important for the city for so many different reasons. And really, I think for our province and journey that we're all collectively on in terms of trying to correct historic wrongs and mistakes and do better in the future. I thought Councillor Cleary hit the nail on the head in terms of it's good that we're rather than trying to get the Friendship Center to fit our regulations, we're bending our regulations, but we're also, I think it's noteworthy, we're bending these for this specific sort of use, cultural use, in a very limited way, because as much as I think this is great, sensitive building, fits a different kind of context and a different kind of cultural thing, I don't know that I would want any developer to be able to not do street articulation on Portland Street out the front door there. So I think what we've come up with is a very reasonable change in the rules to fit a very important institution. And so I think this is a good thing. So with that, if there's nothing else, I would take a question has been called. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? So that is unanimous. Thank you very much to staff and to you, Pam, for coming tonight. So next on our agenda, 11.1 correspondence. Have we received any correspondence at all?
Chair Austin, there was no correspondence received or circulated for
And
this meeting.
no petitions either.
That's correct, no petitions.
Does anyone on council have a petition this evening? None. Okay. We have no presentations. Public participation. I guess I still have to do this. Yes, I do. So now is the public participation component of the evening, in which I will call 3 times if there's anyone out there that wants to speak generally on anything. Doesn't, not related to this specific application tonight. So would anyone like to speak tonight? Would anybody like to speak tonight? Third and final call. Would anyone like to speak tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on from public participation. Item 13, there are no info items. 14.1, proposed meeting schedule. Ms. Clerk, did you have anything on that, or do we just want a motion?
I would say put the motion on the floor. If there's any questions, I'll gladly answer them.
Okay. Councilor Cleary, I saw you nodding.
I'll move that Regional Center Community Council approve the proposed 2025 Regional Center Community Council meeting schedule as outlined in the staff memorandum.
Second,
Second by Councilor Kent.
Just looking at it here, fourth Wednesday when possible. I guess we'll find out when it's not possible or when it is.
so it will
Um,
not be Mondays.
Not Mondays. So Northwest Community Council typically meets on Mondays, Halifax and West typically on Tuesdays when there isn't a regional council meeting, and Regional Center Community Councils on the Wednesday. So
Wonderful.
basically, as the councilors are aware, we typically, this community council meets when there's issues relating to the regional center land use bylaw, either for development agreements, amendments, or even for variance applications that apply within the area. So the meetings will happen when those cases need to come forward. And there's no meeting scheduled for July.
Thank you.
Okay, very thorough.
Question?
Question has been called. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, Ms. Clerk, and everyone in the clerk's office for your diligence to make sure everything continues to run on time. Thank you. We have no motions. There are no in-camera items. We have no added item. Does anyone have a notice of motion tonight? None. And Ms. Clerk, I'm assuming you have none from your office? Nope. Okay. Date of the next meeting, if required, of course, January 22nd, 2025. So new year. I would take a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councilor Cleary. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.